Swordmasters are absolutely one of the coolest units in the game in terms of greatsword infantry, and they're certainly one of the coolest high elf units. Many of you will know my legendary patron, Rider of Rohan. He is a talented artist. I'll try and link to his Twitter down below. He's also a huge fan of the Swordmasters of Hoeth and Tyrion. For a long time, Swordmasters were a little bit of a meme in Game 1. They were great in campaign, and obviously one of the best anti-infantry units in the game, but just in multiplayer, struggled to be cost-effective in many situations. However, in Domination, against some of the meta factions right now, they potentially have a very good place as long as you can keep them from getting nuked by magic. So, Rider of Rohan today, from Domination, Battle of It's a map. He's up against quite possibly one of the most degenerate Warriors of Chaos builds I've ever seen. We'll get to that in just a minute. But Frostheart Phoenix with 2 Swordmasters, Tyrion leading the way, and Lore of Life, of course, just cheap Earthbloods for healing only. A couple of archers with light armor. Light armor helps defend against Chaos Light Cavalry. 30 melee defense with Martial Prowess active, which is quite nice. A couple of lions on the flanks, lion infantry, I should say, for additional AP, and that's it. For this Warriors of Chaos build here, I've got some Marauders on each flank here, and then the Everblob. We've got Chosen of Tzeentch, Chosen of Khorne for anti-infantry, anti-large, and then we've got Archaon and a War Shrine of Nurgle. We're also going to see a War Shrine of Slaanesh come out here very shortly from reserves. Let's get to those quickly. For Rider of Rohan's reserves, he's got another Swordmaster, 1 Silver Guard, 2 more Lion Infantry, 2 Rangers, 4 Illyrian Reavers, 4 Archers. For Archaon's reinforcements, of course, Slaanesh War Shrine, already mentioned. A couple of Warriors, a single Forsaken. We've got 4 Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, some Marauders with great weapons, 3 Warhounds, and a regular Marauder. Now we'll start into the battle. So, a few things to consider. Obviously, Swordmasters, amazing stats, right? 48-48 on attack defense. Weapon strength isn't incredible, only 36, but plus 14 bonus versus infantry makes that much better against, obviously, infantry-sized targets. It's going to be 50 total weapon damage with that bonus versus infantry added, and of course, that puts them up to 62 melee attack. So, we're definitely going to be on par with the power level of something like these Chosen in a 1v1 fight. The Frostheart Phoenix will also somewhat help balance out the heal and drain from the double War Shrine. I mean, not really super effectively, but at the very least, -8 melee attack, 12% base weapon damage, and armor-piercing weapon damage will help these Swordmasters hopefully trade more effectively in this blob. But certainly, Archaon is very scary. You know, he will have to hopefully be countered by Tyrion directly, but given that Tyrion's on foot, it's going to be a little bit tricky. I mean, granted, everything's going to be fighting in a blob anyway, but let's get in close as Tyrion advances with his Swordmasters here, taking up a position. And I love the stance here, too, of these guys. Just, oh yeah, all the awesome idle animations, preparing Val Warriors, and there's the Slaanesh War Shrine, so you've got both Mortis Engine and the heal. However, something to consider about this is because they're going to be fighting elite elves, and without like heavy AoE magic damage, because Archaon, as powerful as he is, only really has Searing Doom, which is obviously not going to be something as strong as like Pit of Shades or Infernal Gateway. The kills aren't actually going to roll in that fast, so we'll check in with the shrines in just a minute to see how well they're doing, but a huge engagement here. Swordmasters versus Chosen. Chosen of Khorne, Chosen of Tzeentch. The Phoenix swoops in here as well, both the War Shrines. You see a Sunfang Blast there in the back. It's going to do some damage, help cut through the barrier with the Chosen of Tzeentch right away. Armor of Morcar does give them a huge amount of melee defense, but once that wears off, they're going to be in a tough situation for sure, especially given that the full surround is incoming. Let's see here, charge up on the Giver of Abundant Glory. Yeah, see, it's only a third of the way charged up, essentially, right? Searing Doom's going to come in and perhaps generate a few more kills, but just the low model count, relatively speaking, given that it's just a couple of infantry units, definitely going to help. Earthblood also restores some of these models so they don't get drained out quite as heavily. And yeah, here we go. Chosen versus Swordmasters, White Lions. It's actually pretty impressive how tall the Elves are in comparison to these Chosen of Chaos. I guess it shouldn't be that surprised. Elves are pretty tall, but Not nearly as tall as Archaon, obviously. Archaon's freaking huge still. Here's Tyrion having a nice duel of the fates here. And because Archaon's surrounded by Elven infantry, nice swing up and around here too with the Phoenix to kind of disengage, come up and around and go 2v1. The War Shrines probably should come support this engagement and like kind of knock Tyrion around, and it looks like they're going to do so. But Tyrion's still able to get some very effective damage in the meantime. These throwing axes also pull up. They're going to be countered by the archers somewhat. Warhounds try and rush in here on the side, get on these archers. Lyrian Reavers come to respond there. You take a look at other parts of the battlefield. We've got Rangers facing off against Marauders here. This is going to be a great engagement for the High Elves on a peripheral objective. Rangers are quite cost effective. I don't remember if they got any direct buffs, but in my testing, they've been pretty decent lately. They seem to be performing more or less at cost, but I mean, now you can see the War Shrines are fully charged up. Just due to the effects being very noticeable. Maybe not fully charged up, but pretty close to it. That being said, the Swordmasters have been able to beat down the Chosen. Chosen of Khorne, Break, and Rout. Chosen of Tzeentch are not long for this world, so yeah, despite Archaon's buffs and both of the War Shrines, still wasn't enough to help the Chosen prevail. And I mean, obviously, the Lions getting a surround definitely helped, but Swordmasters also themselves, although they pay a heavy price, also generated some insane value. Let's take a look here at some of these Swordmasters. Yeah, this one, 1448, already paid for themselves. This one hasn't quite paid for themselves. They've had a little bit of a tougher go so far, but they're now going to come back in and re-engage, try and finish off these Tzeentch Chosen. And you can see the few models that remain are getting dragged down into the mud here. Tyrion gets his Heart of Avalorn proc to heal himself back up to full. It is guaranteed, always has been. Just sometimes he can rout before he gets it. Speaking of which, Archaon routs off before he can get to his healing cap from the Nurgle Shrine. So it's a tough situation for the Warriors. They kind of went all in on that center objective with a huge amount of value and ended up just kind of losing on all fronts. So there you go, guys. High Elves are not OP. I was about to kind of make a joke about it, but I mean, they're definitely not weak, certainly, and their power to destroy even a Doom blob like this goes to show that, you know, you should never just say, like, oh, X build automatically always beats X build, because the execution of builds matters a lot, how you play things, and just, you know, sometimes things may surprise you. Like, when I loaded up this replay initially, I was like, oh man, this is going to be really, really tough for the Swordmasters to actually try and win this, and I will say, you know, obviously in hindsight, neither the Khorne Chosen or the Tzeentch Chosen are a good direct counter. In fact, you don't have any anti-infantry AP Chosen variant, right? You only have Chosen of Nurgle, which would have been the best choice here, just due to their high all-around armor-piercing weapon damage. They don't lose out on the value of the anti-large like the Tzeentch Chosen, and although the Khorne Chosen are very good, they do lack primary armor-piercing damage, so they're not going to trade maybe as effectively. Although I'd have to kind of sit down and math it out with the bonus versus infantry and everything. But the Shrines eventually do get some more just regular Chaos Warriors to buff up, and they're going to push forward. Most of the Swordmasters have run off, but thankfully there's a healthy unit from reserve ready to come in here, and Tyrion doing his little anime run here is going to be getting into combat with the War Shrines, trying to take them down, and there we go. So cool, man. The Swordmasters just chopping up these Chaos Warriors, finding the gaps in the armor with their massive great swords. The Marauder Horsemen going to come through, try and impact those archers with light armor, but at this point, this victorious Ranger is going to range far and fast, like a dwarf across the field here. Try and come in and support. Got some Forsaken coming in, some Marauders, a little bit of Spirit Leech from Archaon on Tyrion here. It's going to do some damage, but definitely not enough. Finish him off. And Archaon can't really come and fight Tyrion either at this point. I mean, Tyrion's certainly also taking 2v1 damage from the War Shrines. The fact that the War Shrines just have so much base HP does make them surprisingly tough to kill, especially in a domination context like this. But all the Elven support units are just continuing to collapse to the center, since Chaos is kind of putting all their eggs in this one basket here, just desperately trying to seize the center objective. Not really working out too well for him. And that is another thing about taking a Doom blob like this in Domination. Even if you were to win, I mean, at most that's going to give you heavy control on one objective. your opponent can just start splitting and you know, pushing the side objectives, not necessarily engaging this Doom blob directly. But anyway, looks like we're going to see Searing Doom there to help try and take out some of those Rangers. They're still trading decently against the Forsaken. Swordmasters are still kind of cutting through this blob of Warriors here. White Lions also get a nice collapsing rear charge once more. And it looks like Archaon did actually come try his luck there. I totally missed it. Got stuck in between the two War Shrines. Oh, I apologize, Tyrion. And Rider of Rohan. Definitely would have been cool to see that finishing blow there. But at the very least, we can see Dorvar's hulking corpse there, confirming the kill for Tyrion. So a great game to Rider of Rohan. That's one of those replays that, you know, I watch and it gives me hope for humanity and the world, because I definitely wouldn't have expected this to work as well as it did, and I think there's a few factors coming into play. Number one is that Tyrion was able to defeat Archaon straight up, which again was not something I was expecting. I mean, a lot of that was due to him fighting with support at the proper time, and obviously a lot of it is RNG as well. The fact that Tyrion got his Heart of Avalorn proc and was able to heal Cap without routing is super important. Basically, Tyrion's biggest weakness, there wasn't any terror. I guess Archaon does cause terror. That's right, with his new Crown of Domination, which I'm assuming he took. I actually didn't check. But anyway, yeah, Tyrion gets some great value back. And then, of course, the Swordmasters just winning that fight straight up. I mean, obviously, the the debuff for the Frostheart Phoenix played a part, certainly, and the heals also the Life Mage in order to sustain them through that fight. But both of these Swordmasters on the first go-around end up paying for themselves, and even the one-off of Reinforcements gets reasonably close. Great performance. Lion Infantry also contributing nicely. Doesn't quite pay for itself, but Archers with light armor, a solid choice. You know, a lot of people would just think to take the basic regular Archers, but I do think they get extra melee defense and armor both from the upgrade, so it can be worth it in some situations. Reaper's also on the counter charge, do a great job. But all around, awesome build, awesome performance. And both of these Chosen don't pay for themselves, despite being supported by the two meta War Shrines, which is very interesting to me. Again, I think Nurgle Chosen probably just performed better straight up in this situation, but a lot of the damage there actually comes from Slaanesh War Shrine itself. So I would expect the damage values on this thing to get nerfed. Maybe 2.1, 2.2, I'm not sure exactly when, but sometime within the next couple of patches here. And then, yeah, the rest of the army just kind of struggles. Split push on the side objectives. It may have been worth it to upgrade these guys to the Khorne Horsemen so that they have anti-infantry and can just go charge out and wreck Rangers in a big hurry. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I guess he had used up all of his marks already. You could go with just unmarked Chosen with great weapons. They would also be a very solid choice to have that kind of blob with. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.